few notes here to go through on Gone Channel 4. It is a show that I watched, 6 episodes, I believe. And yeah, I'm just going to go through what my thoughts and feelings were about this TV show. Now, the cast is very good. David Morrissey, who I've seen in quite a lot of things, Eve Miles, and Emma Appleton. Now, David Morrissey plays this kind of character that's a head teacher. He's very prim and proper. Everything about him is to the T. His hair is combed over properly. He's always clean shaven. He's wearing a waistcoat. He's always dressed immaculately. He's one of them people who just takes great pride in his appearance. And it's kind of replicated in his job. Now, that's a huge factor in this regard. So the backstory is that his wife has gone missing. It's 24 hours since his wife's gone missing, and eventually he reports her missing. Now, the big issue for him is that he's nearly in a juxtaposition of going, my wife's missing, yes, but also 160 students are taking their exams, and I can't let this become a distraction. And he also is a big advocate for rugby, and they're in like a school's final kind of thing that he can't take for granted neither. So he's in kind of like this strange kind of militant persona where he goes, I can't let any emotions be shown, and also I need to focus on the school along with trying to find where my wife is. And this kind of sets up where we go with this story. It's a very interesting story. It's great for the 6 episodes. I did have a bit of a discrepancy at the end, but kind of understand why it became that way. I thought David Morrissey played that character very well, very wooden, very solid, and it essentially is probably a very hard part to play because you are playing a very militant person. There isn't great personality in you, and it's replicated in his wife, who eventually is found dead. Memoirs where she calls him very boring, and then we discover then later on that that she was having an affair with one of the student who is a star rugby player's father. I felt the acting in this is very good. I love the shots of the woods. I love the shots of kind of this grand Oxford-esque, Cambridge-esque kind of way of living. I always think these things are very quaint. They're very country-esque and country-file. If you ever watch them kind of shows, I just adore kind of the cinematography, the direction that it goes, and it just makes a beautiful picture in a very murky world. I thought the star of the show was Eve Miles, who plays DS Annie. I thought she was just fantastic in it. The way she kind of deciphers the clues, the way she's consistently breaking down kind of what's going on, because there is moments where Michael just seems like the obvious candidate of being the murderer, but she gets to know him, gets to kind of fall into this role of having conversations with him, understanding the dual perplexity that he is going through in regards to being the head teacher. And Michael talks about this at various moments where he says that his predecessor said, don't get trapped into the job, which he obviously has, and it's become a detriment to his personal life. As his wife's had an affair, his daughter later on believes that he did kill his wife, and it's a very interesting kind of position that he's left in, and he eventually admits that he kills her. But this is kind of one of the key themes that I think runs through it, about men unable to communicate their feelings. The husband of the one that had the affair, he can't communicate with his wife his displeasure in the relationship, because in Michael's wife's memoirs it does mention that they had planned to leave both their partners and run away together, and he just can't come across and explain his frustration in the relationship. Michael's very stoic in the way he approaches things, and we see this kind of confusion of whether they just don't want to say anything or they find it a weakness of saying something. I felt like the storyline was very good up until the last episode. Now, Annie, who is wonderfully well in this, she kind of breaks it down in regards to finding a key next to the body. She goes to visit the deputy headmaster, see how he's getting on with the whole thing, and then, spoiler alert, discovers that he is the killer. Now, I was thinking throughout it, this is quite the curveball because he's never a suspect until she finds this key and it links him to the door of his house. He goes in, or she goes in, he forgets that he needs to get the trophy, comes back, and he's kind of like rummaging through his stuff, and eventually he goes, and his name is Rory, he goes, look, Annie, I know you're in the house, where are you? And Annie just comes out, which I enjoy because I didn't enjoy I don't think I'd enjoy the kind of cat and mouse approach of it, especially in the last episode. I would just like to know, is he the killer and what's happened? And essentially it didn't veer away from kind of fantasy. He just said he was really into Michael's wife, I believe her name's Sarah, and he was just romantically attached, and out of a fit of anger he ended up strangling her. And Annie does so well here. She's just like, oh, okay, no worries, I think they'll understand. She knows herself they're not going to understand. They're going to put him down for murder, but she needs to get out of that house. And I thought that scene between them two was just so well done, and I like the way, on reflection, of going, you know what, nothing is how it seems. So everyone's complaining about curveball, and I was one of them. I was like, why has this happened? But I just found it so refreshing in regards to, look, we were just chasing down, was it the husband, was it the lover? And it could have been them too, and it would have been one of them stereotypical things of the husband going, look, I knew that she was cheating on me, I got angry one night, ended up strangling her, kept her for a few days, and then put her in the forest, and I went to the rugby. But it just turned out to be a curveball. It was someone who we didn't really know was ever a suspect, and it just fell into that bracket of just going, you know what, this wasn't planned out to the T. It wasn't kind of like one of these murder mysteries that at the end of the show you go, it was him because of this and this. It was just the deputy headmaster, and only for Annie knowing that the key linked to the lock, then I was like, oh, you know what, this is very good in regards to a show. So I would give it 4 stars out of 5. I thought it was very interesting. Thought it was wonderfully well played out. Is there going to be a second season? I don't know. Oh, and that's one thing as well. Annie reviewing a file of the unsolved murder of Tina Bradley. I thought that was great, but what I thought she was fantastic in was the Craig, I think his name was her ex-husband or current husband, and he would have these mad rage blackouts, and she just was so well in them moments of showing that she was terrified. And there was one moment specifically whenever she was in the house and she was making him dinner, she was playing loud music, he came over and the door was locked, and he was like, Annie, let me in, and he was getting angrier and angrier, and then eventually she's like, oh, sorry, I didn't hear you there, I was playing the music. And he's just going mental, ends up trying to blackmail her, going, you'll never get the files, I've got additional files for that case that you want to solve. And then he runs down to the other side of the gate and tries to get in the back door, and she's just like, oh, locks it. And then you're just like, wow, Jesus, this is absolutely intimidating. And at the end of the time, then she ends up breaking up with him and taking the files off, and I'm like, it's a nice little solid ending. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought she was absolutely fantastic. I thought the cast were great, but she was the standout. And yeah, highly suggest watching it. I've just absolutely spoiled the whole thing. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.